How do you pronounce his name? Is it Vivek? 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 Well, he showed up on the Breakfast Club because he's a dark horse inside of the presidential race. But I've been liking a lot of what I've been seeing from him. I actually observed him, had a conversation with Jordan Peterson the other day on his platform. And so when you guys sent me this, I was very curious as to what he was going to say. So I'm not going to obviously go through the whole thing because, you know, it doesn't make sense to go through a 40-minute clip of what it was that he interviewed. But there are specific parts that you guys told me to stop through. Cliff Williams is in the building. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. But I want to share this with you guys, and then I want to get y'all thoughts. Make sure y'all throw a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me see how they pronounce his name.
Wake that ass.
President and a bunch of U.S. senators and a former
Let me fast forward
U.S.
a little
ambassador and governors is honestly ahead of where I expected to be right now. Our goal was to be in third by the end of the year.
All right,
Same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide ideals that the nation was actually founded on and do a better job of aspiring to them.
Now we have Tezlyn Figaro. I'm sure Tezlyn has some questions. Tez, you good?
Yes, I do.
So Tez is the woman that went viral allegedly for saying some things that were out of pocket. Let's see what she has to say.
So I've heard a lot of.
Her name is Tezlyn Figaro. Tezlyn Figaro. All right. So she's tuning in and she's going to grill this potential presidential candidate. And so we're going to see what happens.
You know, what you think and your vision, and I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of, opposed to talking about your opponents, let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your policy. Explain to me.
So on the outset, she seems to be intelligent.
Your position on this civic duty voting.
Sure. So my position is, I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen. So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the three branches of government? What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam or some of them you write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well.
I don't see that as an issue. Why should they know more about your country than you? I don't see that as a problem. Okay, let's continue. I see the love is love rainbow flag in the back, but we're going to stay here. Let's continue.
Because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. You don't value a country that you don't know something about.
That's correct.
You don't value something you inherit.
That's correct.
You value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing something about. So how do we think big about that?
Which is why it's very difficult to give your kids stuff because they didn't earn it or they don't really understand anything about it. And so they gonna fumble it instead of what it is that you had to work your whole life in order to get. So I don't really have a problem with what he's saying right now.
Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote as it stands today. Super small numbers. And apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok. Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25?
I'm okay with that.
But you still get to vote at 18. If you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote.
Maybe if they had a greater understanding of what this country was about and how important it was, and they were more informed as voters, you wouldn't have to have a get out and vote and have Diddy water waving across your, and doing a robot across your screen in order to get you to vote for somebody that's not even in your best interest. When people become more informed and they have a greater stake in it, me personally, right? I remember my first time voting. I think I was 18 years old. It was the 2000 election. And who was going into office? 2000. That was Bush versus Gore, I think. I think it was Bush versus Gore at that time. And I remember I went into the student union because I was going to UAD, the UAD Titans. I was going to UAD inside of Detroit. And I remember seeing that Bush had won, I think. Bush had won, and I remember the first time that I voted because I did a little bit of research on more about what was going on. So it's pretty interesting about how this. But I think that if you have a vested interest in something, you'd be more inclined to take it seriously, and it'll mean a lot more to you.
And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months. That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket. From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value something you actually have to earn.
That's reasonable.
And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? You know, we aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an
I'm going to read that shortly.
But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the Vietnam draft. So I just think reviving those ideas is going to be good for us.
A lot. So let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the 3 branches of
Nick is over 24, so it don't matter.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows there are 24. Red, do you know the 3 branches?
Executive.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass.
What is MB talking about? That means that they need to become more informed if they want to vote. That's all it means. It doesn't matter whether or not they know it or not. That doesn't disprove what it is that he's saying or what he's advocating for. That just means that you need to become a more informed voter, which is one of the reasons why black people vote the way that they vote in the first place. But I want to hear what this woman has to say.
Because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, or political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
I will, absolutely. And the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right, yeah. Just for clarity, I am independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Cool. I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Does everybody know there are 3 branches of government? Before I continue to play this video, Paul L., I'm going to be reading Super Chat shortly. Does everybody know there are 3 branches of government? Just curious. Does everybody know the 3 branches of government? Let me continue to play this.
So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years?
She came in disingenuous. So she came in not necessarily looking to have a conversation. She came in order to disprove who he is and whether or not he's qualified to even be having this conversation in the first place. So let's continue.
Years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen, to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem.
Couldn't use shame, insults, and guilt. Couldn't throw away. We know where it's going. I can already see it. Yep, you are absolutely right, Persevere Dated TB. This is about to be a shitstorm in bad faith, because she's leading into it, trying to disprove him and trying to be ugly instead of just having a conversation. And he said, listen, I wrote about it in my book. And I started getting into what it is that I'm getting into now later in life, because I have a better understanding of it.
So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything hard way.
And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your...
Is he an immigrant? Why do people automatically assume that he's an immigrant and he's been over here for 20 years? From what I understand, he was born here. From my research and me listening to him on other platforms, and maybe she need to do a little bit of research, he was born here. Why does she automatically assume that he's an immigrant and that he was brought over here But okay, let me just listen. Let me listen for a minute.
Resume off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie, he was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was
Okay,
born in
scratch
this
that
country,
off
and I'm proud
then.
of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my
I'm
parents
saying your
brought me
parents
o-
were immigrants.
You said-
My apologies.
That's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I
Yeah,
thought
my
it was
Talk to her. Correct these. Hey, y'all need to start correcting these hoes. Don't let her just get away with it and then say, oh, my apologies. No, we going to get the facts out here. I was born in this country. Nobody brought me here. I was born. I am an American citizen. Ain't no my apologies. Ain't no my apologies. I don't even know this chick, but I'm already getting bothered by her.
set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants.
This is the type of thing that causes people to start doing research on you.
Let's
They
not
were
go down the
immigrants.
water
Oh,
hole.
no, we're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts, and then the other thing is
You were born here in Ohio.
I was
correct?
born in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Let him talk, ma'am.
That's right.
Right. So
Yeah.
you've been here your entire life. So the question
That's
is,
right.
did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did,
I know
yeah.
you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council, but I think that this is yes, I've held leadership roles over my life, but those
What does having a high school... Don't they realize how much money this guy has made? How many people that this guy has helped? If you understand what leadership is, it has nothing to do with whether or not you held a position. Hey, in elementary school, I was voted as treasurer, y'all. I didn't know what it fucking meant. It didn't really mean anything. But in sixth grade, I was voted as treasurer at Hampton Elementary School. That is a fact. Now, does that qualify me to be a leader? What does that mean? What does it mean to be... Leadership has nothing to do with the position that you was voted in middle school and high school. That means nothing. What is wrong with these women? What is wrong with these women? And they just sitting there letting her embarrass herself.
don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
No,
That's
it kind of
just-
does.
Okay,
It kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test
Okay,
administrator.
all right, there you go.
So it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
And I'll tell you,
of the
I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
The
well,
main leadership
right, but-
role I played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, to bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around. I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. In other
Which he said, listen, you talking with your hair that's not even yours on your head, and I was out here fucking developing medicines that's FDA approved that's saving lives. Yo, that's the hardest stunt that I done ever seen happen on this platform ever. He said, what, you thought we was just chilling? You thought I got rich because I was sitting here with my hair, because I was selling bundles on the internet? What, you thought I was selling drugs? Thought I was selling weed on the internet? This nigga is talking to him. Yo, people got to do their research before these people come in and start debating. They got to start doing their research on these people before they start. This man cooking.
one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize
excuse
for
me,
making
sir.
contributions, but
Right, well, I don't
Hold on,
want you
let
to
me rewind
filibuster.
this.
20 of whom die by the age of somebody who's saying, I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
right. Well, I don't want you to filibuster that
No worries.
because
Just
that's
not
not the
sitting-
question that I asked. And
No,
I don't
that
consider,
is.
as a veteran,
You asked about leadership. And so now he's breaking down. This is not a filibuster. This is him breaking down what real leadership looks like. He's re-educating you. He's helping you to unlearn the bullshit that you tried to lead with in this high school class president, city council. And he's re-educating you on what leadership looks like. It's taking a firm stance, first as a man, correcting you, and then also breaking down his accomplishments to show you why he's qualified for this position. I like this guy already. Yo, I'm gonna put him right at the top of the. I like this guy already. I might donate to his campaign.
Talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service.
profit.
That is service. That is service. Just because you're well compensated for it does not mean that you're not a servant.
I'm talking about what you paid people to do with your
So
company.
I've not served the country
because that
in the way
means
you
nothing
have.
to me.
You do
What I'm
realize
talking,
she
what
hasn't
I
been
am
able to ask a question. She's been trying to
Go
ask
for
a
it,
question,
yeah.
and you've been talking over her.
I'm all ears.
No, you're not. She didn't let him fully answer. I DJ Envy. I absolutely. Oh, DJ Envy. You let this man cook. He need to have this debate on Fight Club.
She gave you the platform to let you say
Seems
what
a
you
little
said.
defensive.
I'm all ears.
She
No, I was just correcting a couple
hasn't had
facts.
to ask
That's
a
all.
question yet. Every
Go
time
ahead,
she
Ted,
tried
ask
to
the
ask a
question.
question, you've been cutting her off. Go ahead,
I'm
Ted.
all ears.
Right. So your question again is you're trying to your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country and you want people to have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role. It's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city.
And she thinks she cooking. This is the funniest part about this whole conversation. Watching this, I wonder if people rewatch what it is that they say and what they do. And they think to themselves, man, I was looking like a whole fool. Not a half a fool, but a whole fool. She thinks she cooking. She thinks she got fish grease out here in these streets. She thinks she fish grease hot in here. I am. I'm going to try my hardest. I'm gonna try. Hey Rita, if you're watching this right now, I know you may be watching it on a plane or who knows or whatever. We got to get this guy for an interview, even if it's just for 15 minutes. I got to get this guy on a platform. If there's nobody else that I want to get on this platform, is him.
Council,
and he's gonna be on the Millionaire Morning Show, not the Anton Daniels channel. This guy will be on the Millionaire Morning Show.
Governor, you want to go straight to the top. So my question is this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
Is this a question or is this a debate?
So if you're only going to count government service, you're absolutely
No, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, where you a lead.
Oh, man. Yo, black women. Black women. Black women. It's y'all turn. It's y'all. No, this is your sister in Christ. This is y'all sister in Christ right here. Black women. It's y'all turn. Y'all looking dumb as fuck out here. I'm going to just be right. Listen, y'all don't have nothing to say when I hold men to the fire and hold them accountable. Y'all looking dumb, dumb. Y'all looking like whole fools, not a half a fool, but a whole fool. Black women. Y'all been taking L's for a long time now. At some point, we either need an educated black woman in the room, or we just going to have y'all come to the front of the congregation the way I be bringing Chicago to the front of the congregation. Please don't make me do it again. This is bad. This is bad.
Leader, did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris. Yeah. I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. Yeah. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done any?
The student council president in high school. The student council president in high school. And I guarantee you, she thinks she cooking. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading those short. I guarantee you she thinks she on fire right now.
Anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in healthcare.
It's okay to talk about the small things.
These are small things, right? But thank you.
Let's just mention
Bethesda North Hospital.
So it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
well,
volunteered.
We're not boasting. It's an interview. You're boasting
go.
on your vision and everything else.
I think
you boasted on the
Why they not stopping this hoe from over talking so that this man can actually finish a thought? You seen DJ Envy will step in on her behalf, but he will not step in on his behalf. This is becoming aggravating.
The dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in sixth grade, I'll give you an example. I'll help you out. In sixth grade, Miss Harris, was let me give you an example because maybe you're confused. In the sixth grade, Miss Harris was snatching papers from everybody in the classroom. So me as a 10-year-old, I went to the principal and said, I'm tired of Miss Harris snatching papers. And I organized the students around getting Miss Harris to stop snatching papers. Now there was a consequence for that. I got suspended for 5 days for talking back, and I got in trouble, got a spanking, and I was on punishment for months and months. But that is a simple way of organizing people. So I want you to kind of boast about it the way you did the millions of dollars and said what you did with the pharmaceutical companies. What leadership can you point to that you've been able to rally anybody around anything that is of service that you did not pay anybody to do? I think that's important for the next president of the United States.
Sure. So I've always been drawn to healthcare. That's why I ended up founding companies in that space. When I was in high school, part of what drew me into it was that I was a volunteer at a local hospital. I actually became the leader of that group of volunteers that actually discharged women who had recently given birth. That was it. Nothing big to it.
Did you do anything we can point to stand out?
But I want to say something about that because I say that in the book. If I'm being really honest, why did I do that in high school? A part of the motivation, I'll be just brutally honest with you, was part of the motivation was that's actually what allows you to get into a good college when you graduate.
Right, so it was about you.
So there was
Honestly, this is beyond him cooking her. Y'all look bad out here. This is way beyond. Listen, you ain't got to worry about me. I don't want another woman that's hitting me up on Instagram. I don't want another woman to hit me up on Instagram or sending me an email saying, Anton, why you so hard on women? Y'all hard on yourselves. Y'all out here looking dumb as fuck. Is this who y'all supporting? You ain't even got to worry about me. She over here making y'all look dumb as hell. Now, I know what the Dr. Umar Johnson is going to say. He going to say it's black men's fault. It's black men's fault that this woman is on here spewing this nonsense and rhetoric. He may even back it up and say that she was right as a result of it. I mean, God damn it. He didn't hold Suki Hana accountable, but he sure did hold black men accountable for everything that Suki Hana wound up finding herself into and what she said, Suki with the good coochie. Y'all look bad. We're going to do a little bit of deep diving to find out exactly who this woman is tomorrow. Oh, yeah. You coming to the front of the congregation, Tez Figaro.
So there's that, and I'm admitting that in a way that very few other people do, but I got to be honest about it. That was a big part of why I did it.
Yeah, it was about self, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give it back to the guys. I'm going to be honest about it with you.
Yep.
Leadership is not about self.
I agree with you on that.
What I just heard is that everything is about you, and to be honest with you, this is just a PR campaign, sir, to be honest with you, and I think you're trying to go further to the right because you want the Republicans to accept you as a man of color, and I think the only way you think you can do that is to be so extreme.
I appreciate your opinion.
With your positions, and I think you need to do a little bit more work in service. I'll give it back to the guys. Let me test,
because she did ask me a question, and then you guys said you wanted to hear a response, but I think I heard an expression of opinion. So just I want to make sure you're all done before I respond to it.
No, just wanted to say that even then I would still want you to point out, even at the hospital, something that you did that made you stand out on when actually taking a leadership role. But you already answered it. You said you did it because it was a motivation to get in college.
Exactly.
Which means it was
I'm
about
being very
you.
honest about that. But
everything has been about you. So as a veteran,
let me tell you something. I appreciate
it's very hard for me to follow leaders that make everything about them. So you might want to work on that because it's a lot of veterans and Republicans. So you might want to work on that.
Shut the fuck up. That's what I would have told her. Who you think you talking to? I'm Vivek. I save fucking lives. I'm Vivek out here in these streets. You know, I always say I'm Anton motherfucking Daniels. Who you talking to? See, he got to do this in order to be able to posture so that he can get the vote and all of this other type of stuff. So he can't really go in the way he want to. But God, he needs somebody like me on his side. Like, hey man, tell that bitch to shut the fuck up, bro. Hey man, hey bro, what's happening over there, bro? He needs somebody like a black man on his side. Like, hey, bro. No. We not doing that over there. We not doing that today. Hey. Lower your voice, strengthen your argument. All right, baby girl. Don't call me baby. All right. Listen, this bitch is out of control. Then you're going to have DJ Envy and Charlamagne. Oh, no, my God. Man, somebody need to just tell them for real and just say, hey, yo, you talking too motherfucking much. You got your neck twisted. You snatching dreams out the air. You got your fake hair right there, the bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. That ain't even your hair. How you gonna tell me about what it is that I do and what I stand for? You don't know nothing about me. I've hired more people that look like you. This is hyena.
On that talking point, and maybe do some volunteering while you're on the campaign trail. I'm going to give it back to Charlamagne and Envy.
Yeah, once I want to be respectful. Want to make sure you got everything you wanted to on the table before I respond.
If this was just us, it'd be a lot.
You guys tell me. I'm the guest on your show. You tell me when I'm good to speak.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
You sure about that? If we're good.
Yeah, we're sure.
So I think there's a different worldview that we have, and I think the worldview is how one actually makes contributions in a country. I do not believe that there's a separate category of just if you're serving the country and then if you're acting in self-interest, that's somehow sinful or wrong. I reject that vision. To the contrary, I think capitalism is the best system known to man to lift people up from poverty. I deeply respect and I thank you for your service to this country. I'm grateful for it. I haven't served the country in the way that you have. But I think that the way you get ahead in capitalism, how did I develop a multi-billion-dollar biotech company? It was by developing medicines that save people's lives.
A lot of people say capitalism causes poverty.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. I think that capitalism demands that you provide something to someone
of value
that helps them more.
Yep.
Then you're actually charging them for it.
Yep.
That's the only way.
That's
the
a
tried and
business
true
model,
way
sir. That's
it
not
is a business
service.
model. I'm not
That's
saying
not
it's
service.
I'm saying it's having an impact on society.
An elected
Hey,
official.
somebody get their hyena in here. I thought y'all said that y'all was going to let me speak. Somebody get their hyena in here. I thought y'all was going to let me speak. Jesus.
Is service. That's the disconnect.
That's right. So now I'm moving on to there are phases of our lives where we do different things.
Well, you're moving straight all the way up to President of the United States.
You know, I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't view it as a hierarchy. I don't believe in hierarchies. The hierarchy is the way the bureaucracy works. I don't believe in so we have a difference in opinion.
You also don't believe in service, and that's where we're having a disconnect.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
You know,
I just disagree with you on that.
I do think it's whack that you're proposing to revoke voting rights for 18 to 24-year-olds unless they meet certain
Can this man finish his statement?
Your rights.
Well, most young people don't, is the whole point.
Well,
so, Charlamagne, let me ask you a question. Do you think
the largest voter turnouts have been over the last couple of elections?
They still voted at a very low rate. But let me ask you a question. What do you think about high school students being required to pass the civics test? What's your perspective on that?
The one that you proposed?
The one that every immigrant has to pass in order to enter the country. If every high school student has to pass that before they graduate, what's your take on that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, good. Now let me tell you something about the law as it exists today. Men in this country, not women, but men are required by law to register with the Selective Service, age 18 to 25. That's the draft. We don't have a draft, but men have to register. If you don't, they put you in prison. At least they can. It's a criminal offense if you don't. My view is I would decriminalize that. I don't like the government telling you what you can and cannot do. That's not the American way. But if you want to enjoy the civic privilege of voting, then I think it is perfectly legitimate to say you have to at least know something about the country or have served that country, one or the other. Absolutely.
This man is cooking.
I think that
he's the first person that I don't want to stop in the middle of because I want to hear his full thought.
Actually care about, right? What do we can do the personal attack thing. We care
about
the country.
We
care about the country.
Cornerstone of democracy, though.
Voting is the cornerstone of democracy. I have that's right. And you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing that's different.
Sir, excuse me, because this is important. We have to pause it. This is not a personal attack.
That's okay.
This is you, and I know that as a Republican, you are certainly not soft. So this is not a personal attack.
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
okay
asking about. This is about asking about your background and how it correlates, how it's relevant to saying you're going to serve this country because president is actually.
So I have been an open book in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I know,
Absolutely.
and I'm going page by page.
And I'm saying that I have not.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to be clear. It's not an attack.
Okay.
Because you've been an open book, but that doesn't mean I have to like what's on the page.
That's fair
But
enough.
It's not an attack. I'm just reading the book.
Yep.
And so when I hear somebody say you need to get to,
hey, somebody get this woman. I want to try to reach out to her and see if she's interested in being on the platform also.
Either pass this test or do some type of service to the country. And I spend hours looking. You were in the Phi Beta Kappa Did you have a leadership role in college, the honor roll? When somebody sets service as the standard and they've done no service except to themselves, that's a fair question. It's a question. And you just
So I've been on
I mean,
look, I was on high school student council. Yes, absolutely.
Were you a leader? Were you a leader?
I was a vice president of my high school student council. Absolutely. I was the president of the National Honor Society. I can go down the list. It's just that
that's what I was asking you to do.
Absolutely.
Go down the list.
So I was a president of the National Honor Society. I was the vice president of my student council. I was a lead amongst the volunteers at the hospital where I served growing up. I was actually a leader in volunteer research over the summers. From my senior year.
All of that, but you already admitted all of that was to get into college.
Not all of it, but I am admitting it. I think that
I know that's self-service though. I just do you understand the difference between self-service and service?
I think the reality is, and I think we just all have to be more honest. When many high school students are serving today, not all of them, but I think let's smoke it out. I don't like that structure where we actually mix service with self-interest.
This is, I don't let women talk like this to me in real life. I don't let women talk to me like this in real life. I mean, this shit is cool on the internet and all of this other type of stuff, but I can't. God, that junk irks my soul. It bothers me to my core that women feel comfortable enough to sit there and go back and forth with a I don't care how much he cooking. In my core. If my daughter started talking too much to her mother, I just look at her like, who you talking to?
I don't like the structure of somebody saying somebody need to give service. As a veteran, I don't like the structure of somebody.
And I don't like your fake hair. So now we all in the same boat.
Going to the highest office of the land and have not served anybody at any time unless it was self-serving. So this is where we just have two different ideologies. And I know your goal was to come here and get into.
Here's my perspective.
That's why we got different perspectives.
You guys, you got to leave in 5 minutes. I know.
I'll let them wrap up.
Let me just say one thing: here's my vision of the run for presidency, and this is why I say I'm an open book. Is my job is to make sure people in this country know who I am and what I stand for. And I think that very few politicians on either party actually get that job done. So what I say is I'm an open book about who I am and what I stand for. Whether the people of this country want to vote for me, that's their question, not mine. That's their job to determine, not mine. And you're free not to vote for me. I expect you won't, and that's okay. But I'm doing my job in the 3 books I've written over the last year, in the conversation I'm having with you guys, being far more honest than any politician that I know in the last 10 years in this country. And I think when I say we want to fix corruption, you don't know what the first step is? The first step is actually people being honest.
Right.
So you guys know me. You know what I stand for. I haven't hit back on that. When the people in this country want to vote for it, that's their choice.
Do you want to unite the country?
I do want to unite the country.
So why is one of your marquee campaign proposals making sure black people can no longer benefit from affirmative action?
See, here's the thing. It's actually been a disastrous experiment over the last 60 years.
Talk to him. Talk to him. It has been disastrous. He has. God, this guy might have just won my vote just off of this interview alone.
Seen the impact that it's had. Unlike a lot of other executives, I've had senior executives in my company who happen to be black, senior executives in my campaign who happen to be black. I actually went to a majority or close to majority black school 1st through 8th grade. There isn't a single one of those black kids or black colleagues that could not have achieved everything I have in my life. I firmly believe that to be true. And I have seen the unfair discrimination behind closed doors, the things that people will say behind closed doors, about somebody who would have had that position anyway, but was unfairly tarred with the taint of saying they got it because of a race-based quota system. I think that's unjust to everyone across the board. And I think the right way to do this is actually ensure equality of opportunity, educational access at an early age, which, by the way, we don't have in this country, starting at an actual young age. How about doing that in a way that's agnostic to race? That way we prevent seeing one another on the basis of a color of our skin, but we actually solve the real inequalities that we have when it starts with inequality of opportunity, starting with education. So my view is, I think my approach is actually going to be more successful in lifting up more black Americans than have been the Lyndon Johnson approach of actually using race-based quota systems.
So the Supreme Court does rule on affirmative action, and they do ban it. Who do you feel it benefits versus who it hurts?
I think that it helps everyone if they end race-based affirmative action.